right, welcome back. This is module 3.8, risk reversal. Now, this is a big one. So by the end of this video, you're going to have a strategy for your risk reversal. So let's get right into this. What do we mean by this? Well, this is your strategy that you're going to deploy in your offer for overcoming probably the biggest and most common objection of all, which is risk, right? These questions like, well, what if this doesn't work? What if it's not what I expected or hoped or wanted? What if I don't have what it takes? What if this is just a scam? What if I don't really trust this person, right? That fear of loss and risk is powerful. And if you think that someone's going to buy while you still have, while they still have these thoughts in their head, think again, right? So that's our job. We must eliminate this. And there's a really simple strategy for doing that. The guarantee. That's why guarantees exist. And we have to be strategic about it. So now you know the underlying principle behind why a guarantee is there. You know, we need to ask, what are they afraid of? What risks did they think they are taking? And when we know that, we can identify how can we best eliminate that risk for them. Now, one way is like the guarantee, but there's so many different guarantees, and I'm going to go over 6 with you. And again, you're not necessarily limited to, I guess, calling it a guarantee. I'm sure there's numerous ways that we could really eliminate risk. And I know we do it through social proof, testimonials, and stuff like that. But it doesn't fully do it because it could sit there and say, well, okay, it works for them, but what if it doesn't work for me? Or how do I know those are real? You know, there's so many other things that still can come up. So let's start with the first one. This is the most common one. This is the standard, the 30, the 60, the 90-day guarantee. And by the way, longer usually sees lower refund rates. Interesting story, fun fact there. Most people, when they do a longer guarantee, they see fewer refund rates. Maybe because it gives them more time to really sink their teeth into the program. Here's an example from 48 Hour Film School. And notice, like, there's this great copy around it. So feel free to, be inspired by this copy. Don't just copy, paste, plagiarize, but be inspired by this. Your 30-day worry-free guarantee. I am personally committed to providing extraordinary training that makes a positive impact for my students and their businesses. If you are not completely blown away by the content and experience of the education inside 48 Hour Film School, simply send an email to support James Wemler for a full refund. No hurdles, no hiding, no questions asked. And then I have a little note here. If the only thing holding you back from actually taking action, investing in your business is a fear of, will this work for me, or how can I trust that this is the right for my business, I encourage you to reread my words above. I will honor this guarantee without exception because I'm committed to give the best experience possible to my students. And if we're not a right fit, I'm here to rectify the situation. Now, when I say that, does that start to dissipate some of that risk? Well, okay, great, let's do this. That's what we're talking about. And we got to be willing to do that. Now, you can go crazy, because I love to do crazy, 365-day. That's crazy long, right? That gives people a lot of faith that they don't have to rush this. There's no like, I gotta get results in 30 days. And that's the tricky thing that you're going to see with a 30-day guarantee is people might then build up this expectation that they have to get a result in 30 days. That's why I prefer longer ones. There's also the no guarantee. What? This is a very counterintuitive approach. How can no guarantee, if a guarantee is what eliminates risk, how does no guarantee eliminate risk? Well, I'll tell you. It has to be done properly, right? And here's one I just kind of made up. Okay, I just wrote this on the spot for you guys. But it goes something like this. Because I'm not here to waste my time with any opportunity speakers or seekers or serial course buyers, for that reason, there is no refunds available. No refunds. And I'm so sure that if you actually use the program, it works, period. If you work, right? If you're not serious and committed about your business, don't bother buying. If you just want to buy to see what's inside so you can cancel, don't bother. This isn't for you. This is only for serious and committed business owners. Yeah, that bottom line was just text for you guys. It's intense. But notice the no guarantee can convey like, wow, she knows her stuff works, or he knows his stuff works. it can eliminate risk. It's how it's presented. But the point is that I hope you're getting is that we must be strategic in how we address this fear. So let's talk about the fourth one, the conditional guarantee. Conditional guarantee states that the customer can only get a refund if they show proof of work, whether it's finishing the program, attending the calls, or doing the homework. This is important because it's about saying, like, if you do the program works if you do the work. And here's an example of ours, 365 days to put everything to the test, 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If at any time you decide it's not a right fit for you, email our support, get your complete refund. All I ask is that you show me you've done the work. Why do I ask that you show me you've done the work? You won't get results if you don't take action. I can't help you if you don't do the work. I don't want to waste any of my time with someone who's purchasing a program without putting it to use. Okay, so there's copy example for a conditional guarantee. Number 5, the results guaranteed guarantee. Ooh, I like this one. This starts getting really good. Let customers know that if they don't get a result, they're going to get their money back. You know, that really puts it on the line, which I love. Get your first client in 30 days or this program is free. We're so confident this program will work for you that if you actually do the work and take the action, if you don't get at least one client in 30 days, we'll give you your money back and let you keep the program absolutely free. This way, we put all the risks on ourselves, and you only pay for the program if you're making money. Boom. We did that with our Nail Your Niche workshop. Nail your niche by the end of this workshop or your money back. What a great guarantee. Like, there's just no risk, right? There it is right there. When you join us for our $297 masterclass, I guarantee you'll walk away by the end of this training having clearly identified your niche or your money back. In other words, if you don't know exactly who you are here to help and how you help them by the end of this class, all you need to do is email Rose, my customer support liaison, and I'll happily refund 100% of your funds. No questions asked. Plus, you get to keep all the recordings and the PDFs. Boom, right? 6, the double your money back guarantee. Oh, yeah. The 6th one, the last one is like the really radical one. Now, we've done this. It worked phenomenally well. And it's basically paying people if they're not happy. There's actually like 2 guarantees, right? So the first guarantee is like just a refund. You know, like you have 30, 60 days, 90 days. Wasn't for me. Send us an email, get your money back. But then there's the second guarantee. The second guarantee is if they do the work and don't get the results, we'll pay you blank dollars, usually the amount of the program. In this case, they'd get, you know, like it's $1,000. They'd get $1,000 back, plus we'll pay $1,000, you know, just because of your time commitment. Now, that is super enticing to somebody who's on the fence. Like, look, if you don't get any results, you know, and you can show the work, obviously, then we'll pay you. It's a double your money back guarantee. And, I think we've had to do that to one person. We did this with Local Video Academy. A few people reached out and we said, okay, here's the criteria. You have to show us that you've done this, 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 and this. And none of them could. You know, it's like, yeah, because it works. If you do the work, it's going to work, right? Maybe not on your first go around, but nothing's got a 100%, foolproof method. It's like, hey, if you do this 5 times and you don't get one, then like, yeah, boom, right? So we set those criteria up for them ahead of time. And then if someone asked or requested it, we said, hey, have you hit these 5 criteria? If so, let's book a call to show it to us. People couldn't. But that's because we confidently believe in our stuff. And it's just a great marketing strategy. Okay, so we've gone over 6 specific types of guarantees, including the double and the no guarantee. Is that funny? They just like totally different, and they can both totally work. And now you got to choose one. Skipping this step would be a big mistake because no one's going to buy if that has risk in their heart, fear, that much fear. No, it's not going to happen. So pick one or come up with your own strategy, but it better be better than one of these. Okay, so don't get in your head about it. Pick one that just kind of feels good for you. You can always change it. That's the beautiful thing is you can always try different guarantees in every launch and promotion. Okay, all right. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. All right, welcome back. Module 3.11 here. I know this has been a long one, but you also know just how important, vitally important, nailing your offer is. And I'd rather take more time here than necessary so you can get it right than to rush over this. So I appreciate you still sticking with me here. Now, we've gone over everything you need. If you're the type of person, though, that really learns, or rather deepens your learnings through great examples, then you're really going to enjoy this video, because I'm that type of person. I'm more like, okay, show me what worked, and I can kind of, in my own mind, reverse engineer. So I want to do that with you. Now, again, what I'm giving you are examples in different niches and several of my own products that are great offers, okay? And you're going to learn more throughout the rest of this entire program. You're going to learn more when you go to BBD Live. You're going to learn more when you connect with other members. But here's a couple examples right here for you right now. So let's get right into them. Let's look at Video ROI. Now, short version, it was originally called Video Traffic Academy. Video ROI, same thing. And the kind of the headline there is pretty much the promise of the offer. Attract more clients with YouTube. Okay? Basically, by the way, I'm not going to go over all 7 with these, like what was the guarantee and what was the price and all that stuff. This was a $197 or $177 program, online course. Get your videos ranked and found at the top of YouTube and Google so you can reach more people and attract more customers. This program and Video Traffic Academy, same offer, just different names, so don't get confused. Millions of dollars in sales over the course of this program. Started at $97. I raised the price to $177, included some more training and some other cool stuff, but the promise stayed the same for several years. Simple promise. Notice the so that you can. So you can reach more people, attract more customers. Very clear, very tangible, very desirable promise, and that's why it did very well. Let me introduce you to Local Video Academy, which was born out of Video ROI and Video Traffic Academy. And I promise you this, your first offer with customers and selling it will become the breeding ground for your second. You'll just you'll notice what it is that your people want. You'll learn what they need more effectively, and you'll be able to get that next product. And what we saw is when people bought Video Traffic Academy, they're like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm getting these videos ranked. This is amazing. Do you think I could do this for local clients? And we're like, yes. And we created a product. So here's the tagline: bring the power of video to local businesses. But here was an even simpler promise: get paid to make videos for small businesses. That was the promise. I mean, very clear. So whether you're a videographer or you're an online business owner, you're an entrepreneur, and you're looking for a new way to make additional sales, revenue, cash flow, this is a service that's in high demand, creating videos for local businesses. This product went on to do, in about 2 years, millions of dollars, multi-million dollars, like $2.5 million. Crazy. And I think we only launched it like 4 times. Let's talk about my mastermind, the Inner Circle. So now we're talking about a different type of product. It's a year-long, in-person and virtual mastermind, okay? Now, there is still a promise with this, even though it's got a very different approach to how we talk about this, and it's there's a launch process for masterminds. There's an application process. They basically, each person that joins pretty much has to, not even pretty much, very much so, has to sell themselves to me as to why they can join. So there's actually 2 promises in effect. There's this is a general promise, but you can go more general when you have something like this. But the promise I led with is to create your breakthrough year in business. And then I kind of helped to define what that means for each individual and what would a breakthrough year look like for you. But it's also, since we have revenue minimum requirements, that becomes actually part of the promise as well. This is a mastermind, a 12-month mastermind for businesses at a minimum of $500,000 or more, selling digital products, online courses, etc., who would like to have a breakthrough year in business. So that's really the promise for that. Last year, we didn't even market this publicly, and we turned down over 40 applicants and filled it out, obviously, because we turned down over 40. Let's hear from Jazzy Things. This is Jasmine Schmalhouse. Jasmine is one of our head coaches for our BBD Next Level program, but she also runs her own business, and it's called Your Dinner is Planned. It is a monthly membership that helps busy families cook healthy meals so they can spend more time with their family. Pretty simple, and it's I forget the exact price point, but it's like $20 a month. She gives meal plans and recipes, shopping guides, all that type of stuff. That's it. Really inexpensive membership, and it's a 6-figure membership. And she pretty much just sells it using her Instagram account, which is unfreaking believable. All right, let's hear from Mr. Chris Beltran. This is Brand Camp, and this was a screenshot of Brand Camp Beta, an intimate creative online program that helps online entrepreneurs, digital marketers, create a visual brand that attracts more clients and customers and gets you to position yourself as the authority in your marketplace. Kind of another screenshot here for you to show you all the different stuff that he does. Pretty darn cool. And by the way, we'll be talking about this in the next video. I believe in the next video. Yes, we will, which is one of our most infamous processes, the beta launch, the monetize before you make it. So Chris sent a little note here saying, from the monetize before you make it module, I created a beta, did close to $4,000 with no list, no ads, and ended up working with some of those betas at one-on-one. So it turned into some one-on-one clients that moved it up to about $7,000. And then, of course, at this point, he said, I'm moving up to do my official launch. So cool. Here's Daniela Warner, who created a program called Spa Retailer Rockstar. Very simple promise. If you're a retailer, in the spa, health, wellness, spa, brick and mortar, how to increase your retail sales in 30 days. She did over 12,000 with one of her first launches, and I know since then she's, and you can search her name, she's shares her updates and wins in the group, gone on to do amazing things. Just another example of a great offer. Here's Andrea Maxim with Maximize Your Clinic, how to start, grow, or build your practice in 3 months. She did over $40,000 in course sales with one of her first or second launches, but definitely in her first year of releasing this online product. Then we have Dory Howell. She's a member of my Inner Circle Mastermind, and she has a membership for photographers on how to grow their business, how to raise their prices, how to position themselves as a premium photographer and attract more clients, how to get booked solid. And here's Emily Aarons, good friend of mine. She's been on the podcast, and she's a member of the Inner Circle. And here's her membership, Mastery and Ascension. And it basically helps anyone in business how to tap in to use your intuition and spiritual tools in your business to remove blocks, limitations, move the energy so you can live a more spiritually aligned business and life. She does very well with this membership. All right, so those are just a few examples of some great offers. And, at the end of the day, they're very simple. And I always like to use this accordion analogy where you can start with expanding that accordion and make it really long so you have your whole offer sheet and you put out all the pieces. And then if you have 10 seconds to share what it is that you do or what your offer is, you can. And I tried to explain each of those within just 1 or 2 sentences. Hopefully, those are some great examples that are really helpful and beneficial to you and will give you what you need to start getting some of those creative juices flowing, some new ideas, some new possibilities. All right, I got another video coming your way, so I'll see you in that next one. Take care. All right, welcome back. OMG, this is your final video of this mega module, 3.12. This is the what's next, so now what? Verifying and validating your offer. Here's the biggest thing I'm going to say right now. There will never, ever be a way to know for sure if you have an irresistible home run offer until you put it out there. period. You can overthink it all day long, right? Overthinking is the art of creating problems that don't exist. You can ask your friends, your family, me, the Facebook group all day long, and we have all of our little opinions and speculations, but that don't mean diddly until you put it out there, and that's what this is about. When you feel some confidence that maybe, perhaps, I'm moving in the right direction, James, this is what to do next. And it really is getting you into action. So there's something maybe you've heard before. It's been around for a long time called the shot across the bow. It's the Hail Mary, heck, why not kind of message where you go to your audience and you basically do something like this. You take your narrative, you blend it with your story, you blend it with your offer, and you create a small but direct, simple, easy, low barrier of entry call to action. It can go a little something like this. You do it any way you want, okay? But now that you have your completed offer sheet, it should be pretty easy. You go on a Facebook post or a quick Facebook Live or maybe on an Instagram or a story. Stories are great for getting those DMs. And you say, hey, so, I've been doing a lot of cool things over on YouTube lately. And it's really helped my business. There's the story. And if you're looking to find, a more effective strategy so you can, so that you can sell more of your products on a consistent basis, this is the transformation, then this might be something you're interested in. I'm thinking of putting together a pilot program, that's your beta offer, to teach a small handful, scarcity, of people how to increase their traffic, leads, and sales using YouTube. That's the vehicle. So if you're interested, send me a PM or a DM or reply to this email to discuss further. Call to action. Notice all the beautiful ingredients here in like 2 sentences. So easy. No, let me say that again. So simple. You get to determine if this is going to be easy or difficult. I can't do it. This is so hard. What if they say no? Who cares? But look, I'm going to tell you this right now. You're not getting any results until you do something like this. Business happens when we start using direct response. We put something out, we ask for a response. We put something else out there, we tell them what to do next. If you're not putting anything out there, they're not going to do anything. If you don't ask them what to do next, they're not going to do anything. That's how we get results. These are the type of actions, activities that you must be willing to do. Now, you can also set up a waitlist page. We've got a whole waitlist process. You'll see us in our marketing. Just observe me. I'm always talking about our next Business by Design launch. Go to bbd.net, businessbydesign.net. Get on the wait list. Be the first one notified. We have this template for you, so you can use this or something like it for your own waitlist page. Again, there's a process for you in the resources section. And then you can do your beta launch. Now, your beta launch is your monetize before you make it offer. It's your first time you're doing it. It's a type of offer that takes an irresistible offer and makes it 2x irresistible. Because what you're really saying is saying, hey, this is going to be the cheapest it's ever been. We're doing it with a very small group, scarcity, urgency. And you're going to get this intimate hand-holding, extra support. You're going to join me in this exciting adventure that we're going to go on, this journey that we're going to go together. We've linked up the beta launch strategy for you below. This is where all of our students begin. This is where they get their first clients, which become their case studies. This is where you get that feedback loop of, what's working, what's not, so that you can make the best product, program, membership, etc. possible. And it's how you get paid before you create the program, which is always fantastical. We have had people in Business by Design do their beta launch, make their investment back on BBD within the first 7 days. You can overthink and be a perfectionist all you want, but you already know by now that perfectionism is a survival strategy for trying to avoid criticism. Yep, you heard me right. The only reason you're a perfectionist is because you're trying to avoid judgment and criticism. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can't avoid the inevitable. That's like saying, I want to go surfing, but I don't want to get wet. It's unavoidable and inevitable. You're going to get judged. You're going to get criticized. So you might as well do it anyway, because you have a choice in your life. Do what you love and help people, or sit on the sidelines waiting, wishing, wondering, regretting. That, my friends, is up to you. You've gone through a lot in this module. All these powerful exercises. It's probably hurt your brain. It's probably had you question, second guess so many things. That's the work. Lean into the uncomfortableness. That's when we know we're moving in the right direction. But guess what? You've made it to this point. It's action time. You can sit there planning, perfecting, and writing and exercising all day long, but nothing's going to happen until you put that offer out there to the world. And if you're still scared, still hesitant, still resisting, one question to ask yourself right now: what's the worst that's ever going to happen? What's the worst that can happen? Here's the best that can happen, and here's the most likely that can happen. Someone out there who needs saving is going to get saved. Someone out there that's dealing with something is going to get their problem solved. And so you're going to need to make a choice right now. Are you going to hold back, hesitate, and delay, procrastinate because you're worried about what others will think of you? You're worried about how good you're going to look or not. Like, I have this one shot, one opportunity. That's nonsense, by the way. I've had 12 years of one shot, one opportunities, making mistakes all along the way. So are you going to do that? Or are you going to go save that one person? Because if you don't, that means what happens to that person? What happens to that person out there that needed you, but you didn't show up? That's what's on the lines every single day. Don't believe me? Where would you be right now without this program, without me showing up for you? All right, so you know what to do. Get to work. Get to work! Woo.
We are going to kick off in about 60 seconds time. Just before we do, let's do a quick tech check. If you can hear my voice and you can see my screen, please let us know in the question box that it's working the way it's supposed to. You can hear my voice and you can see my screen. Stefan says, yep. Thank you, Stefan. First cab off the rank. I was a bit worried there. I thought everything was fine. Okay, everybody. Cool. Well, we're going to kick off in just a second. Before we do, what I'd love to know is, where are you in the world? And what's the most fun thing you've done this week? So where are you in the world right now? What's the most fun thing you've done this week? I'll give you just a sec to type that in. I'm in Hawaii right now, in Waikiki. And I can't say I've done a whole lot of fun. I've been a little bit sick, actually. So I'm just going to say the best thing I've done is kind of go for a walk along the beach. Where are you in the world? And what is the most fun thing you've done this week? So just going to give you a sec to type those in. Oh, Fiona, Byron Bay, walked to the lighthouse. Love that. It's beautiful there. Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, feeling a bit wretched, actually. Which means I'll speak nice and slow, which is probably an advantage, right? All right. So let's get started with today's session. I want to talk to you today about this little thing called the conversion audit. Really, really excited about sharing with you. So in just a second, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how to dissect your sales process and work out what's working, what's not, and what needs to change to maximize your conversion rate without having to kind of throw the whole thing out and start all over again. I want to give you a quick heads up about a couple of things coming your way. The Webinar Selling Intensive 2-day workshop on how to build a webinar that sells. In fact, it's not really a workshop on how to build. It's a workshop where we build a webinar that sells. So whether you need to build your first sales webinar or your next sales webinar, the Webinar Selling Intensive in either New York or Sydney is exactly what to do. And I hope that you get yourself registered. Let me just give you the link in here right now. .com/intensive. yeah, blackbeltmembers.com/intensive is where to go. Get yourself registered. Book yourself in for either New York or Sydney. And let's build you your next webinar. What do you say? Okay, so webinar selling intensive is coming up in a couple of weeks. Straight after that, or actually kind of straight after this rather, I'm doing an interview. We've got a Q&A call coming up in about 2 hours. And for the first 20 or maybe 25 minutes or so, I'm going to interview Adam, the Black Belt Sherpa, on becoming a sales machine. You probably know that he's taken over the one-on-one sales process for Black Belt about a year ago, I think. And so he's done all of our triage calls, all of our strategy sessions, and we're just going to find out what he's learned through that process, what's worked, what hasn't, your mistakes to avoid. This whole month in Black Belt is about how do we increase your conversion rate one-on-one talking to a prospect. In 2 weeks' time, we've got a training called the Strong Start, which is all about how do you start a sales appointment well. What do you need to do in the first 3 to 5 minutes to make sure that you are, that they are with you, that they feel safe, that they trust you, and that they've admitted up front that there's a problem to solve. Okay, so we're going to go deep into that, and then we've got a critique call with Carl Taylor running the critique webinars from now on. So I'm really, really excited about sharing that with you as well. So quick little reminder, if you haven't been, by the way, if we're kind of this far in and you haven't, you're probably, there's probably no chance of me getting you to do this. But if you have, then just encourage you to kind of have another look at your project placement. Every time we get together for a Black Belt Intensive, one of the things we do is we build your project placement, and the way to stay the way to stay on track, and the way to get more done in 3 or 4 months than most coaches do in a year, is by having your goals really clear in front of you and checking in on them weekly as like a compass. And so the project placement is exactly how to do that. So we're getting to the end of our 4-month period, and we're going to do a new one in a couple of weeks' time. So it's just worth having a look at and see how far you came. All right, so really excited today to share with you the conversion audit, how to increase the influence, the persuasion, frankly, the conversion rate from your one-on-one sales process. Just like when you take when they're doing aerodynamics tests on cars, jets, etc., they put them into the wind tunnel. We're about to put your sales process through the wind tunnel and work out where the bumps are, where the frictions are, so we can make it smoother. There's a worksheet for today's session, the conversion audit. I'm going to give you the link for that right now. If you can download him and potentially even print it out. Normally they are the sorts of things where you can just type straight in. This one's not as not going to be easy to type into just because of the shapes. So I'm just going to ask you to print that out, or at least kind of scribble it out on a piece of paper near you. Either way will work just fine. Cool. So that's the handout for today. Let's talk about this conversion audit thing, why it matters. I think there are kind of 3 simple guides to say, do I need this or not? And if, by the way, if none of these ring true for you, then you can just leave the webinar in a minute's time and go, actually, you know what, I'm good. I don't need that. And get back and enjoy the extra hour that you just bought yourself, right? So the first thing is that your strategy sessions don't convert. That you talk to people and the end result is that either they don't say yes, either they say no or they don't say yes, right? So whether they out and out kind of reject you, or they just don't say yes, they kind of string you along and it never turns into anything. Either way, you've got this conversion hole. You're doing the activity, you're doing the strategy sessions, but people aren't converting. You know something's wrong, but you don't know exactly where the problem is. You don't know how to pinpoint the exact issue. Does that make sense? So if this is going on for you, if you're kind of talking to people and they're not buying, but you're not sure where you're going wrong, today we're going to go a deep dive into analysis of kind of what is, what the real cause is and how to fix it. Reminds me of a great coach. His name's Andrew Roberts, who I worked with, for years. And remember Andrew once going through 16 sales appointments, one after the other, after another, after the other, over a period of a few weeks, and signing 0 from 16. So talked to 16 people, and not one of them became a client. And dude, his confidence just went through the floor. He was terrified that maybe he had lost his mojo, and maybe he kind of the good juju had left him, and now he was kind of a bit out on his own. You know what I mean? He kind of lost his mojo, and it was never going to come back. And what was interesting is I was actually talking to a really good friend of mine called Steve. Actually, Steve, who works with me inside Black Belt, and Steve said, well, let's just have a look at your lead sheet. Let's have a look at kind of the details you got on your prospects before you went out and saw them. So he pulled out the 16, like A4 sheets of paper, letter-sized pieces of paper if you're in the States. 16 sheets of paper, and in search to find out if there was another reason other than, I'd lost my mojo. Turns out that if you gave each one of them, a really good solid look in the cold hard light of day, not one of them was really ever going to go anywhere. So they might have been good people, but there's no way any of them were qualified to become a coaching client. So here's Andrew thinking he's lost his mojo when really he's just talking to the wrong people. And so I'm not sure what the reason your conversion rate isn't where it wants to be is. Maybe it's wrong people, but the most important thing is just kind of to be able to do that analysis, that kind of, that instant replay or kind of post-game debrief and have a look at what worked, what didn't. If we're doing it again, how can, what would you do differently, and kind of what's the action plan? If we don't do the instant replay, then we kind of begin to doubt ourselves, second guess ourselves, which is bad, or we never find out what the real problem is, and so we can't just do the kind of the tiny fix that we need to do to take control again. Yeah? That's what happens if you don't do the conversion audit. If you do, though, here's what happens. Yeah, we'll have a look at your sales process and we'll figure out exactly what to fix. Right? What's the missing piece? Or what's the piece that is not being worked on optimally? And as soon as we know what that piece is, we'll put that piece in, and bam, it's easy. We don't have to redo everything. You don't have to go and learn another way to sell. We just have to figure out what's the piece that isn't working for you and how do we fix that? Second thing that's going to happen is as soon as we know what piece to fix and we fix it, your conversion rate takes an immediate, permanent boost. It goes from, wherever it is to kind of 20 or 30% more just by diagnosing and fixing the piece that's missing. Number 3, your conversion rate takes a boost, which means that prospects say yes and you get more clients. The end result is that you feel like you're back on, you got your mojo back, you're on a win streak, which is exactly what we want. So the question I've got for you is this. If you think about your sales process, the strategy session, the 9-box matrix from rapport and talking about your cat on the top left of our 9-box grid to the 3-question loop and magic pills at the bottom right, which part of the strategy session do you find the hardest? I'm just curious, kind of which part of that do you find least flowy, for want of a better word? So I'm just going to give you 30 seconds right now to type in the box. Which part of the strategy session do you find the hardest? So one of the best parts about being in Hawaii is Island Vintage Coffee and their acai bowls, which I've got in front of me right now, and it's absolutely delicious, I've got to say. Okay, Fiona says magic pills and the 3-question loop. So does Chris. Grant says magic pills. Going from promise to logistics, which seems like I'm selling. John, that's interesting. What else? Andrea, I'd love to know. Cameron, you too. Deb, I'd love to know. Eric, Jeff, Jonathan, Josh, Kanisha, Michelle, Paula. Come on, gang. It's not okay to be on a webinar and not talk to me. Tom, Stuart. Pills in the loop, says Sharon. By the way, Cameron, if I gave you a hard time and you were already typing, I'd like to retract my earlier slap on wrist. Pills and also splitting reality from roadblocks. Interesting. Yeah, and there is an overlap, right? Ditto on moving to logistics. Magic pills in the loop. Great, magic pills. Kicking it off, not being so too slack and too friendly. Yes. Transition, says Steve. Great. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you 5 keys. I'm going to go through these quite quickly because I want to spend most of our time doing the actual audit, but I want to give you kind of 5 keys to think through the audit well, okay? So if you're taking notes, if you haven't already started, this is the place to start. I'm going to give you these 5 keys real quick, and then we're going to go deep into the audit and figure out what's going wrong and how to fix it specifically, okay? So here we go. So the first key, not surprisingly, is to audit your performance, is to do a little post-game analysis after your sales call. And you don't have to do this after every after every sales call, but it's a smart thing to do, especially if you're in the process of getting better. I remember hearing Tony Robbins talk about he got a job with Jim Rohn, delivering public presentations, and he decided that he wanted to be the best, the best closer, and then also the best presenter in Jim Rohn's company. So he decided that the quickest way to get really good was, instead of doing like 1 or 2 or 3 presentations a week, is to do 3 a day. And so it would take him a week to get, a month's worth of experience. It'd take him a month to get 90 days worth of experience. It'd take him a quarter to get a year's worth of experience. And within 2 or 3 months, he was better than everybody else. Not because he was so good, because he was obsessed about doing it and reviewing it. I want you to kind of write down those 2 words: do and review. So what we want to do is we want to audit your performance regularly, just like the sportscasters do after a play in football or basketball or whatever your sport is. They'll kind of rewind it, they'll play it back slowly, they'll draw and commentate which one. You know what? Where did this play begin to go off track? Yeah, what happened here that isn't right? And if we don't do the audit, here's what happens. We just kind of lump through life, bumping along, and we are completely in reaction to what the world gives us, or even what we create for ourselves. We're not in the driver's seat at all. We're in the back seat, or the boot/trunk. So we want to audit your performance. We want to go pause, rewind, slow motion replay. What happened? Number 2. When it comes to auditing performance, the second thing that we want to do is we want to look upstream. So often what happens is we think that the sale went wrong at the end. That I couldn't get my magic pills right, or my 3-question loop was kind of wonky. Often the problem shows up downstream at the end of the process, but it began to go off track upstream. I remember hearing Wyatt Woodsmall, who used to coach one of the, actually he was kind of coaching the all-time most gold medal winning US Olympic diving coach. So this dude coaches Olympic divers, and his students had more wins than more gold medal wins than anyone else. And so he began to kind of dissect. Wyatt began to kind of work with this guy and figure out what's he doing to coach winners. And he figured out that there was one question that this coach would ask when he was reviewing a dive. So the guy would dive in, and he'd either kind of do it live or he'd watch the TV. The question he would ask is, where did this begin to go off track? In other words, what's the earliest moment that I noticed that something wasn't quite right? Because otherwise we'll kind of blame it on the splash landing, or that our loop wasn't right. But we want to figure out, was there something that I could have done or should have not done up front, which caused it to feel off track at the end? Often, if we kind of check in and we kind of pause long enough to really kind of be honest with ourselves, there's something we did up front that caused the performance to begin to go off track. And what we want to do is we want to identify as far upstream as we can the piece where we began to go off track. Why? Because if we can fix that piece, it has a ripple effect all the way through the rest of the sales process. Yeah? So we want to look upstream and identify the root cause of the performance deviation. Number 3 and 4 are really interesting. Often when we look at a conversion audit, when we kind of try to figure out what went wrong, there are 2 places to look. And the first one is this. The first one is to watch your language. Both the words we use and the tone that we use when we're talking. So for example, I've got a great friend, Ari Galpa, who says, when you're on the phone, you're talking to a prospect, don't be too friendly and enthusiastic. And especially if the first step in our sales process is rapport, friendly and enthusiastic is exactly how most of us would naturally be when we're trying to connect with somebody. He says the only 2 people who are friendly and enthusiastic are friends and family or salespeople. And you're not my friend and you're not my family, so you must be a salesperson. So we want to watch your language, both the tone and the words. So the metaphor I've got for this is during your strategy session, you want to have a really interesting sort of energy about you. You don't want any kind of forward motion, any kind of push, any kind of momentum in your voice. I think about it like, when you get a balloon and you blow it up really, really big, and then you let it go, and it flops around the room and then lands kind of limp on the ground. You want to have the energy that a deflated limp balloon has. And I don't mean you're a drag, but I just mean no forward motion about you, just there. So when it comes to when it comes to watching your language, we're going to look at your tone, and we're also going to look at the words you use, because there are some words which trigger pushback. If you think about if you've ever been on a sales call with a potential client and you feel like they push back on you, well, just think about that. If somebody pushes back, it's because at some level they feel like you pushed first. So rejection is triggered. And what we want to do is kind of watch our language so that we're not triggering rejection either with the words we use or the tone of voice that we use. And so as we do this conversion audit, we're going to be looking at specific languaging and tone of voice as well. Does that make sense? So I want to watch your language. We're going to look at each of the 9 steps in our strategy session and identify if there's anything we're saying, either the words we use or the way we're saying it, that is triggering rejection or causing the thing to go off track. Number 4, I want you to clean your come from, your intent. So I think kind of at each step in the sales process, we've got an intention, a goal in mind. And so we need to have a really clear, clean come from around this. Remember hearing Brad Sugars actually once say, are you here to, like when you sit down with a potential client, are you there to sign a client or are you there to help a business owner to make more money? So are you there to kind of help somebody or collect a check? So if you take away the evil intent, if you're not there to get money, but you're there to help somebody, get to the truth of whether you're a fit or not. And if you are a fit, of course they're going to sign up with you. And if you're not a fit, of course you won't. If you clean up your come from at each of the steps, each one of these 9 steps in the strategy session grid has a particular intent. And I want to kind of help you get much more in tune with what's the intention for each stage, so you can bring your game from amateur white belt level to something much more black belt in terms of your ability to influence. What you'll find is if you get the intent right, the words will come naturally. And so you don't have to memorize a whole bunch of scripts, a whole bunch of specific languaging. If you can get the intention right, you'll naturally, the right words will come to you and through you. Make sense? So I just want you to kind of get clear about your come froms at each one of the stages. What's our intention right here? Number 5. Number 5 is really simple. It's to apply the simplest solution, the simplest fix that there is for this issue. So often, like you might have a conversion problem, and you realize that it's actually just this piece here. And if you just tweak that bit, bam, then everything gets better, and we don't have to overhaul the whole thing. We don't have to over-complexify our sales process. We just have to identify what's the one hole that's most holding us back, and just tweak that. Just have to kind of apply the simplest, most basic fix, a little bit of duct tape or a coat hanger antenna, so we can get a really clear signal between us and the prospect. I want you to apply the simplest fix. So as soon as we've reviewed the problem, we've done our instant replay. We've gone as far upstream as we can, and we've looked at both the language we use and the intention we come from. That will help us diagnose the exact issue, and then we just want to apply the simplest fix there is to get the outcome we're after. Make sense? So what I want to know right now, which one of those 5 is most useful to you and why? Again, I'm going to give you 30 seconds or so. Which one of those is most useful to you and why? Sharon says, I really like the comment about being friendly and enthusiastic. Don't be too friendly. Yeah, you're a doctor, right? Doctors can be nice, and that's awesome. But really, you go to a doctor to have you to diagnose what's going on and what to do about it. Focusing on my intention versus the sale will give me the right words and tone when talking about logistics leading into price. Okay, just got a little note popped up that my audio might not be that good. Can you still hear me? Please let me know if you can. Yes, you can. Great. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Focusing on my attention with the sale will give me the right words and tone when talking about logistics leading into price. Yes. Number 2, Number 5, so looking upstream and applying the simplest fix, says Chris. Be a deflated balloon. Yeah, not like a drag, but just don't have any assumption about you. Apply the simplest fix, says Melanie. What's your language? I think I'm too friendly, so I'd sound like a salesperson. That's not my intent, though. Right. Get the intent right, and the language flows appropriately. Yes. Deb says the simplest fix, because my default response is usually to kind of overhaul the whole thing. Yes. Game plan review. What worked, what didn't? Work through the sales process. Yes. What's your language? I think I'm being too friendly and familiar. Yeah. Audit my language and my tone. I'm great at building rapport, showing my value, but not selling. Right. Beautiful. All right. Yeah, Grant says there's a big delay on the slide advance. No problem, mate. That's completely okay. I totally understand. Take out the high I tone. Yes. And by the way, it's not about personality. It's just about, people are going to spend a bunch of money with you to get the help they need. And so we just need to make sure that you're coming across appropriately. So what I want to do right now is I want to kind of go deep with you on exactly how to do this. So something is definitely going a little bit weird here with my, there we go. And we're good. All right, so we've got this conversion audit document in front of you. By the way, if you haven't got a copy of it, then you'll need to get one. I'm just going to give you the link right now to download the worksheets for today. You can just download that, make sure you got it. That will be awesome. And it's going to take me a moment or so just to draw this out. So meanwhile, just get yours ready. Beautiful. All right. So if you think about the strategy session, there are 9 core steps, right? We start off with here we are. Oops. Yeah, we start off with talking about their cat, building rapport. Yeah? Second, we have our agenda. And the last thing we do in our first 3 to 5 minutes is we ask the decision question. And the decision question is the why now, why me question, right? So that's kind of our first 3 pieces. Then we've got our stretch the gap piece, which is results, where do they want to go? Current reality, where are they right now? And roadblocks, what's holding people back? We wrap up with a check-in for value. So we summarize what they've told us and check in for value. Here we have our 3-question loop. And finally, we have our magic pills. That's meant to be a pillbox. Just bear with my crap drawing. Okay. So that's kind of an overview of how the strategy session itself works. And so what I want to do right now is I want to just do a quick overview about how to diagnose which piece of your strategy session is going off track. This is one of the most intricate little drawings I've probably ever done in this thing, so hopefully it works out just great. Okay, so let's do this. If we think about rapport, the first piece where we're getting people, where we spend the first minute building rapport with people and having them kind of get comfortable. If we get this wrong, here's what we do. We become friends. And there's nothing wrong with liking your clients or your client liking their coach. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But if all we do is we become friends, then you've kind of robbed them of the chance to get the fix that they really want. And so we don't want friends, we want clients. Yeah? So if we get it wrong, we're too friendly, and we become buddies, and we're a little bit over-friendly, and we make a nice connection, but we don't walk away with the client. I think that's the mistake that we make down there. So I just want you to think, like, as I go through these consequences and benefits for each one, I just want you to think about which one of these is, which ones of these kind of relate most to me right now. Secondly, the agenda is really important, this second piece. If you get the agenda piece wrong, then what happens is the call begins to go off track. And so you lose control. They take you where they want to go instead of you taking them where you want to go. I think it was David Sandler from the Sandler Sales Institute said that if you don't have a system for if you don't have a system for selling, you'll always be at the mercy of your prospect system for buying. And so if you don't clearly lay out the agenda well, then what happens is the call begins to go off track and you lose control. What we want instead, if we do this piece right, is we are able to lead the prospect right the way through the process. So we kind of either lose control or we can lead them. So if you feel like sometimes the call begins to go off track and you struggle to get it back on track, it's usually an agenda issue up front. The why now, why me piece. If you don't do this well, what happens is you have a really nice chat. The whole conversation is interesting, and they're kind of there to get, they get help, and you add value, and things are really lovely. But if you get this right, they're going to tell you their biggest need. What do they really need right now? And so you can either have conversations, which are nice, interesting but not useful, or you can have them, to divulge to you their biggest need right now. And if they tell you their biggest need, then you're in a place to be able to, solve the need, and have them kind of make a really solid commitment for themselves and for their future and for you. Yeah, there's a difference between having a conversation and having a problem-solving conversation. And so the decision question is all about, we're here to solve a problem, not just to have a conversation. If you ever feel like maybe the conversation, maybe the sales appointment is them just milking you for free info, that's usually the decision question where we went off track. Next up, results. When we get into our stretch the gap piece, if we don't do this right, then what happens is people will intellectually tell you what they want. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, not everyone's going to be like super emotional about this stuff, but there's a difference between kind of intellectually saying, here's where I want to go, and having them actually feel inspired. And so if you feel like there just wasn't enough vision, they weren't kind of moving towards something enough, then often it's a results piece where we kind of missed a mark. And so we got people to kind of intellectually tell us the data points about what they want, but not feel the why. Is this making sense? Okay. When it comes to the next piece of our sales process, the current reality, if you do an okay job of this, then people will definitely tell you what's going on right now. But I don't just want people to tell me what's going on right now. I want them to be naked, really warts and all honest about what's working and what's not working and what they need. Does that make sense? So it can either be just an update about here's what's going on in my situation and here's our numbers, or it can begin to, begin to have them kind of really raw, really naked, and tell you what's actually going on, and have them become pretty vulnerable. The third piece of our stretch the gap conversation is the roadblocks. So we talked about reality, where are you now? Talked about results, where do you want to be? The next piece is there, what are the roadblocks that are holding you back? And one of the mistakes that sometimes we can do is, and I don't know if this is you, it certainly has been the case for me, is when people start to tell me what's holding them back, I felt a little bit uncomfortable the first few times I did this. And so I'd sort of try to make it okay, and I'd comfort them, and I'd kind of negate the issue. When really what you want to do is you want to help create the conflict. If you think about it, every coach gets hired when there's a conflict, when there's a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And so the conflict goes like this. I really want X, but X is stopping me. Every great movie is built on conflict, right? Yeah, they want this, but these things are in the way. So what we want to do is we want to help create that feeling of conflict. And if we get to the end of the stretch of the gap and there's no conflict, there's no gap, there's no kind of rawness about these are the things which are holding me back, then we've missed a piece, and roadblocks piece is where we need to focus our language and our intention. When we get to the V for value, we really do two parts, right? We summarize everything they've told us so far. So, based on what you told me, here's here's what you want and why. Here's where you are right now, and here's holding you back. It's going to just kind of feed back to them everything they've said so far. And we do that. We do that to bring them to a decision point. So if you get this wrong, then we ask, so what's been most valuable so far? Either they'll kind of tell you what they like about the process, which is, okay, but frankly, it's a bit lame. We're not here to kind of just get, here's what I've enjoyed most so far. What we really want to do is have them feel like you have completely diagnosed their situation. Okay, so we want to diagnose their situation. So if you get to that point and it doesn't feel like you've, they're in the place where now they're kind of leaning and going, okay, so how bad is it? What should I do? Then we've missed a step here in our value piece. Make sense? When it comes to our 3-question loop, if we do this wrong, it feels like we are pushing prospects through the sales process. That we are assuming the sale, that we're moving people fast and we're kind of taking them where we want to take them. So if you ever get that feeling like it feels like I'm taking somebody where they don't really want to go, it's because we haven't got our loop mindset right. Because our job in the loop is to create a sense of pull, is to have them say, well, yeah, I get this, I'm good. Take me to the next step, and have them drag you across the sales line. Is that making sense? So that's, if it ever feels like you're having to kind of lead them through your 6 magic pills, it's because there's too much push and not enough pull going on. And so that feels like a gap in your world then. Last up, this incredibly bad picture of a magic pill bottle, right? If we do this wrong, then what happens is that we fire hose people with our stuff. We dump all of our logistics on people. We tell them all about the program. We kind of do it all in one go, and we talk for 10 minutes. Now I've understood you. Now let me kind of talk for 10 minutes about my stuff. We fire hose people. Instead of, by the way, what happens when you fire hose people? Well, they tend to be pretty resistant, right? So you can either fire hose or you can create desire. If you do the 6 magic pills well, it creates want, it creates hunger, it creates need, not extinguishes the flame, right? We don't want to satiate, we want to salt, if that makes sense. So let's just pause right now, and I want you to do a quick audit. First thing I want you to do is just identify which are the pieces where your sales process feels like it's going a little bit off track. And so I just want you to list in the words. Are we getting an intellectual response? Are we just making friends? Am I having a chat? Am I comforting people? Am I fire hosing? What are the kind of the 2 or 3 biggest mistakes that you're making right now in your sales process? I'm going to just pause right now, give you 60 seconds. Just do a quick self-audit. Which ones of these feel most like your core issues? Which ones of these feel like your core issues? Jonathan, crazy. Thank you. I think that's amazing. Lots of people saying they can't see my drawing. Oh, okay, thank you. So, look, now we can see the drawing. Sorry about the delay. Chris, really interesting. When you get to roadblocks, how do you manage a client that can't see what the roadblocks really are? They don't know what they don't know. Great, I'll tell you how to walk people through roadblocks. Fiona says, I'm losing control, I'm having a chat, I'm comforting, and I'm fire hosing. Right, and so you end up becoming friends and making great connections with people, but not having them commit to you, Fiona. Intellectual responses and fire hosing. Great. Comfort all the time, intellectualize the issue, and then no real sales process. Right. Not getting them to feel inspired about the future, not getting them to feel like I diagnose the problem enough. Great. Not creating the conflict. Possibly the middle box, now and naked. Maybe I may not be doing enough on where they are right now. Right, Chris, interesting. AJ says, not enough conflict. I have to be more honest and call them out on their bullshit. Yes. Oh, and satiating rather than salting. Yes. Pulling out conflict and then fire hosing. Right, Josh, interesting. Lots of fans not throwing money. Right. So you don't want cheers, you want clients, right? Sharon says, Fiona, I'm with you there. I thought I was the only one. Look at you guys again. You're connecting. I feel like I need to be able to stretch the gap more authentically. I just feel like when I do this sometimes it comes across a little weird. In other words, not allowing them to minimize their problem, but not make it look like I'm trying to inflate something. Right, Jonathan. Cool. I'd love to help. How to share what our logistics are without overwhelming them. Yeah, so we need a simple way to describe your logistics. Comfort and fire hose. Right. Okay. So what I'd love to do, gang, is talk about the fixes with you. So next to each of these, I'm going to give you two things. I'm going to give you an intent and then some languaging. And for each one, I'll just do a quick check-in, and I'll open up for specific questions about each box. Cool? By the way, this acai bowl is amazing. Okay. Okay, so let's zoom in here. Our first box, where we go from just making friends to making, creating clients is, our intention is to have them feel. Oh, where's my pen? No, there we are. Our intent for this one is just to make people feel comfortable. Yeah. The mistake, though, is when we let the rapport piece go on too long. All we really want to do is just connect with them briefly and then move on into the process. So we're just going to have a quick chat really fast. Where are you in the world? Great. How long have you been doing this? Awesome. What's the weather like where you are? Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm really glad you're here. Let's get started. So the way to go from friend to client is to get down to business faster. And so the language that I use for this is this. I chat for a little bit and then I say, okay, let's get started. Okay, which lets them know we've kind of done our little chat, and we go from there. Now, let's just talk quickly about rapport. Rapport is defined as a relationship of trust and responsiveness, right? Trust and responsiveness. And so what most people try to do is they try to earn people's trust and ask for their responsiveness. Just think about that. They try to earn people's trust and they ask for responsiveness. But what I've always found is that I get better results and I'm able to lead people better when I assume trust and I demand their responsiveness. So just think about that. Assume trust and demand responsiveness. Okay, so let's get started. What have I just said? I'm the leader here. Follow me. So what I want to do right now is just kind of pause and, this is really straightforward. Like our job in the first 60 seconds is just to have people feel comfortable and then let them know we're about to get down to business. Okay, so comfort is just, a little connection piece, but not long. It's literally 60 seconds, maybe not even. And then, okay, let's get started. And then you switch from, nice connection into kind of a little bit more business mode. So what I want to know is, when it comes to this rapport piece, what specific questions do you have about this? Hey, Alfie, great to have you on the line. I think this is our first webinar together. Great to have you here. Any questions you have about rapport, about assuming trust and demanding responsiveness, about what to say and how to say it? I'm going to give you 30 seconds right now to type in your thoughts, questions, ideas. No? No questions? Says Jonathan or Gabby or Ephraim. Sharon says, I love assume trust and demand responsiveness. It puts you in control. Yeah, 100% right. So it sounds like we're good to go. Yeah, perfect. Sounds like we are good to go. Okay, so let's jump in and do part two. Part two, the agenda, if we don't get the agenda piece right, we kind of lose control and the conversation goes all over the place. What we want to do is we want to be able to lead the client. And the way that we do that is with intent and languaging. And so the intention is to give control to get it. That's the intent, to give people control in order to gain control. And so the specific languaging is just running through our agenda. And so I'm going to do a quick demo of this, but I want you to just kind of listen and notice what happens. So if I say, hey Grant, and I'm just going to pretend it's Grant, but everyone, this is for you. I've got a little agenda, like a little framework I use for conversations like this to make sure that we cover all of our bases together and we do a really good job and you walk out of here with a plan. Really, there's three things I want to do with you today. Number one, I want to get crystal clear about what the result looks like, how you want things to be different, what's possible. Because the clearer I am about where you want to go and what it looks like, the easier it's going to be for both of us to get a plan together, right? Cool. Second, once I know where you want to go, let's zoom back to now, and I want a really clear what's-and-all picture of exactly how it is right now. Just that'll tell me what we've got to work with, what's working and what's not. So the second piece we're going to talk about is kind of where you are right now. The reason we do that is because the clear I am, like if I'm crystal clear about where you are right now and where you want to go, then we can create a plan together to get you the results you're after. So there's three things I want to focus on. Number one, where you want to go. Number two, where you are right now. And number three, what are the roadblocks that are holding you back so we can create a project plan and get you the results you're after quickly. Is that okay? And people say, sure. Okay, so last thing I should say. I found that a useful kind of three-part framework for these kind of conversations to make sure we cover all of our bases. But if you think we should talk about this other thing, or there's something comes up that you really think we should focus on, I want you to just feel completely okay with taking me anywhere you think we need to go. This conversation is about you, not about me. So anything you think we should talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. Is that cool? Great. So let's just pause the role play. What did you notice in that conversation? What did you notice in that conversation? It was friendly. It wasn't bossy. What I really did, somebody's saying we're going to zoom into now. Yep. John. I set the agenda. Yep. So I said, here's what I want to do. And then I checked in and got permission, says Chris. Exactly right. I gave power to the people. Yes. I gave the other person control. Alfie, exactly right. Now, here's the thing. Now that Grant has got control and he knows that he can take me anywhere he wants to, if he wants to, what's he going to do? He's going to feel absolutely no need to take the conversation off track because now he knows where we're going. What I've basically done is made it safe for him. I gave direction, but then gave him the right to lead. Yes. Grant says, they came to you for help, so you set them up to get it. Yes, exactly right. Giving permission for them to set the agenda and to change it if necessary, but it keeps it tight and controlled. Yeah. What happens 99% of the time is that they'll go, great, I've got permission to talk about whatever I need to, but most people are really happy to be led. And so they'll let you do that. I took control up front. It's about them, plus, and it puts them as a priority immediately. Yes, it makes the conversation all about them. Absolutely no confusion about how things are going to roll. Exactly right. We're going to talk about what you want, talk about how it is, and talk about what's holding you back. Why? So we can create a great plan for you. I'm getting their compliance. Yes, this is the same as assume trust, and demand responsiveness, right? So the intention is to give control to get it. And the way we do that, is with our agenda. And I just say I've got a 3-step framework that I find helpful so that we can get you a great plan. I want to do 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, reality, results, reality, and roadblocks. With each one, I'm going to tell you why that piece is useful. And then I say, but this is your conversation, not mine. So you can take me anywhere you want. Is that cool? Yeah, all right, well, let's get started. And bam, we're done. All right. Any questions about the agenda? Sharon says they control the content and you control the process. It's so clear. Exactly. The content comes from them, but I tell them which pieces of content to give me. I control the theme or the context. Exactly right, Sharon. They control the content, I control the process. It's exactly what we're doing. Good call. Any other questions about the agenda and how to make sure that the call stays on track and that you're in the lead the whole time? Stefan says, how do I get in the zone where I demand control? Dude, don't even worry about getting in the zone. Just ask the questions. He who asks the questions is in control, right? That's the simplest answer, Stefan. So if you say, well, how do I actually take control? You just ask the questions, and whatever you ask is what they will do. So they will feel really safe about giving you control when they know what your agenda is up front. Now there's no reason to resist, right? Resistance goes down because now they know here's what he's going to do with me or she's going to do with me, and here's why each step matters, and if I want to take it somewhere else, I can. I've just made it really, really safe. All right, let's talk about number 3, the decision question. Okay, so the decision question is really, really important. If you don't get this right, you have a really a lovely chat, and people get free information from you instead of solving the problem. So I love the decision question because it takes us from getting free info to we could actually make some decisions about stuff. Our intention is in the first 3 minutes, because we'll be at kind of minute 3 or so by now, 3, 4, 5. Our intention is that we immediately get to an immediate, real problem. Now, even people who think they're coming to you for free information, they want free information about something. So there's an actual issue. All we want to do is bypass the free info piece and get straight to what's actually going on right here. So our goal, our intention here is to quickly get to an immediate, real problem. When we do that, what happens? Well, now we've Aikido'd the free information piece, and we can just focus in on what's the actual problem and let's solve it together. Make sense? So that's the intent. The languaging is really simple. The language is the why now piece. So why me is nice, but why now is where the juice really is. So let me give you some specific languaging around this. When I get to this part of the call, okay, so in a minute we're going to get clear about where you want to be, where you are, and what's holding you back. But right now I've got one quick question before we get started. Why now and why me? And so sometimes that's all I need to ask. Other times they won't give me a particularly good answer for the why now. And so I just say, okay, so I know that you were on the webinar and there was an opportunity to book in some time with me. But the question I've got specifically is, what's going on in your world right now that makes this a conversation worth having right now? Like you put aside the time to have a conversation with me about growing your coaching business. Why now? And so the key here is to dig until you get an answer that answers a real why now. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, a pause. Firstly, what have you just learned about getting to the need here? Going to give you 20 seconds. What did you just learn about getting to the real need here? I've got nothing. What's going on? All right. I've got no questions typed in, which either means that it's really clear or that there's some kind of techie issue. Let's just check in. Can you hear me loud and clear? Yes or no? Everybody, I need a yes or a no, please. Yeah, this worries me a little bit. Gang, can you hear me? Yes or no? Quincy, I'm not sure quite what's going on here. All right. People saying they can hear me and they're typing in the box. Thanks for the text. I'm just not getting your answers. I'm not sure quite what's going on there. Huh. Guys, I'm not sure what's going on with the tech here, but I appreciate the thank you saying yes, you can hear me. I could get people to SMS me. I could. I'd rather not do that. If there's a way. Thanks for all the texts. People have my number. That's awesome. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to quickly log out and log back in. I kind of would love to be able to hear your... Actually, Quincy, you are logged in right now. Can you do me a favor? Can you just send me people's comments in Slack, dude? That'd be fantastic. Just in the support chat in Slack, that'd be great. Sorry, everybody, not sure quite what's going on there, but I really want this thing to work. All right. Just a sec, gang. Thank you. This is really helpful. John is saying, why now is more important than why me? Yes, it totally is. Thanks, Quincy. You're a star. I appreciate your help. When I ask people to answer both, they usually answer only one. This is the only one I can see so far. Great. Thank you. Cool. So, yeah, the truth is why now is more important than why me. And if, John, if when you ask it, people are answering one, not the other, then the secret is to ask them separately. I have two questions for you right now. The first one is, why now? What's going on in your world right now that makes this a now conversation? And now people tell you. Okay, cool. Okay, second question, why me? Why do you think I might be the best person to help you with this? And then have them answer that. As to two separate questions if they're only answering one. Okay? Thanks, Quincy. I appreciate your help. Next up, let's talk about results, getting into the stretch the gap portion of our strategy session. By the way, thanks, guys, for bearing with me through the techie challenges. Looks like we've got it sorted through a back channel. When we get to the results part, when we get people to kind of tell us what they want instead, or how they want things to be different, then often what happens is they say stuff intellectually, but they don't feel it. And so our job, our intention, is that they feel what's possible. And the key word is that they feel it, right? Stephan saying, sometimes you need to ask them a few times because it helps them figure it out for themselves. Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. So our goal is to help them feel what's possible. And so the secret to having them feel what's possible is in our four-step process of going wide and then going deep, the main two. Obviously, then we feed it back and we check in for anything else. But really, it's about going deep. And so you've probably heard me talk about this piece. The key piece here is that we're going to go wide first and get lots of what do you want, and what else 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 do you want. The secret to that, by the way, is to have conversion categories. Just have a list of different categories that you're going to ask people about. So when I do the Stretch the Gap piece at the $1 Million Coach Intensive, I've got a slide and it has like the presenter notes. It's the only time I use the presenter notes ever. And in the presenter notes, it's got income, clients, impact, time, weeks, years, team. It's got a list of categories. And so the first key is just to have a bunch of different categories that you ask people about pretty consistently through the process. So that's part one. The part two, how we get them to feel it though, is to get into going deep. And the way we go deep is to ask the 5 whys. Yeah, so we just want different ways to ask people why that matters. So you can listen for the ones, if they give you a list of things, listen for the ones that they have the most charge about, emotional charge about, and that you feel like you can help with. So you mentioned this one. Why is that so important for you? So why is that so important? If you had that just the way you want it, what would that do for you? What would that give you? Great. What else would that make possible? What would be the best part about that? Awesome. And so we're just having people go from I get it in my head to I feel it in my heart. Okay, this one here really is head stuff. And this here is heart. We're going to go from why to what. Make sense? So we want people to feel what's possible. Quincy's just telling me that my screen is frozen, which is super annoying. Quincy, just describe in the chat what you can see on my screen, please. That'd be great. And did we switch to a yellow screen a minute ago? That's what I want to know. We were drawing in yellow. If we didn't, then I got to log back out and log back and dial back in, I think. So what we want to do is we want people to feel what's possible. The way we do that is by asking the 5 whys. The 5 whys. When we ask the 5 whys, we're just taking the ones which are most important to them and going deeper about why it matters, why it matters, why it matters. Make sense? Why does this matter to you? Why does that matter to you? What would be the best part about that? Why is that important to you? We just want different ways to ask why it matters. And once we've got that, then we get people to switch out of their head and into their feeling. Cool? So any questions about having people feel what's possible with the 5 whys? I'm going to ask you to type into the question box, please. That'd be amazing. What questions do you have about how to help people feel what's possible? Quincy's just telling me that the screen's not working, which is kind of annoying. I've just stopped screen sharing and restarted. Quincy, can you just tell me if it's working now? If not, I'll just log out and log back in. If it's working, you should see my my book, my iPad book half open on a slight angle, if you know what I mean. Still not. Okay, cool. Guys, I'm really sorry about the techie problems. It worked fine yesterday. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the webinar. Quincy will be looking after you for the next couple of minutes, and I'll dial back in a sec. Please hang 5, and I'll be back in a moment. Please sit tight. Okay, guys, I'm just logging back into the webinar. I'm not sure if you can still hear me or not. Apologies for the confusion or the techie dramas. Not meant to work like this, and I'll be with you as soon as I possibly can. Queens, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just unmuted myself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Okay, guys, so while I'm just dialing back in so you can see me, sounds like you can still hear me, which is good. Fiona's just asked a great question about the decision question. What do you do when you've already asked why now and why me in the triage call? So the answer to that is you ask it again, right? There's no reason why you can't ask the same question twice. And if you're nervous about it, you can literally start with, hey, I know I asked you this the other day, but I just want to make sure that we're both kind of present in the moment right now. Why, so what I want to know is kind of why now? What's going on in your business that makes this a now conversation, and why me? So if you're worried about it, just frame that you've already asked it, and they will be fine with it. The short answer is that 99% of the problems we have are in our head, not in their heads. So just ask the damn question again. Fiona, hopefully that helps. Sharon says, my main thing is not wanting them to feel their pain, therefore solving problems or not letting them go there. Dude, you've got to hurt them before you can heal them. No one's going to change anything unless they feel pain. Just think about it, like people have got to hit rock bottom, right? So they're either going to change because they're kind of so inspired, which is the results piece, or they're going to change because there's issues which have been going on for ages, but now they feel them. And so we've got to get out of our head that here's the thing, if you don't let them face it, if you don't have them look at their current reality, if you don't have them face the problem, does it really fix the problem? Does it really fix the problem? No, it totally doesn't fix the problem. So your job, if you really want to help them, you'll let them feel the pain, Sharon. If you really want to help them, you've got to let them feel the pain. All right, well, guys, it looks like I'm back, which is good. I love being back. I've been made a presenter, show my screen. All right, please let me know, team, if you can see my iPad again. If you can, that'll be lovely. A little bit epic, actually. And let's just see if I can see the... Hey, I'm back, and I can actually see the question. So Quincy, no need to retype. So apologies, everybody. Thanks for bearing with me. And video editors, please make sure you delete out all of the dead time for the recording. Everybody, thanks for your patience. So we've just been talking about how do we get people to feel what's possible. John says, are the 5 whys like your why stack? Well, no. A why stack is something that you bring to the client. Like if I'm presenting, I'm going to lead with, I'm going to tell you what your whys are. Right? But if in a conversation, I'm going to have you tell me what your whys are. So the 5 whys are, in fact, John, let me unmute you right now. John, if you're still there. Oh, I think I've lost him. Isn't that funny? He asked a great question, and I was going to unmute, but I can't. Yeah, so the 5 whys are just getting clear about what they want here with our go wide. So let's say we're having this conversation in 12 months' time. What would have to happen for you to feel really happy with your progress? And people would tell you something. You go, great. And what else? Cool. And what else? And what else? Cool, thank you. What else? What else would you like to have happen? What else? What else? What else? What else? So then we're just going to find the ones which they feel the most emotional charge about. And for the ones which they are most kind of emotional about, we're going to ask the 5 whys. So it's less about me telling them the why stack and more about me saying, so why does that matter for you? If you had that just the way you wanted, what would be the best part of that? Right? We want to get really clear about the why. When we do that, they don't just intellectually understand it, but they emotionally feel it, and that's kind of what we want. Let's move on. The next piece of our Stretch the Gap is their current reality, where they are right now. And what we want to do is we want to take them from just giving you a kind of an update about how it is right now to have them feel quite naked about the current reality. And the way we do that is we want to have them, I got this metaphor from the book Good to Great, and he talks about the optimists were the first ones who kind of died in the concentration camps. The people who won were the ones who were determined they were going to get out someday, but they were realistic about how bad it was right now. And so what we want to do is we want to imagine there's a rock, and under the rock are a bunch of kind of squiggly worms. And most people go, oh, there's worms under there, I don't want to look at the worms. What we want to do is our intention is that we want them to look at the squiggly things. Does that make sense? Our intention is we want them to be really raw and real about what's actually going on. We want them to kind of just face them. And so there is a little bit of an overlap. Somebody said this earlier. There is a little bit of an overlap between the reality piece and the roadblocks. Often, you'll be talking about reality and you'll get into biggest frustration. So that's completely okay. Don't stress too much about that. The way that I get really clear about the squiggly things is I have a list of conversion categories. So conversion categories are all of the different areas where you can help people in. And so I might ask about your marketing. I'll ask about your lead flow. I'll ask about your webinar results. I'll ask about your monthly revenue. I'll ask about the team. I'll ask about the hours. I'll ask about how systemized you are. These are the different categories where I can help. So the way you do this is just to have a list of the categories and ask them. So what do you think I need to know about your marketing and its effectiveness right now? What have you tried? Okay, what's working? Usually a short list. What's not working? Usually a long list. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my conversion categories and then dig into what's actually going on. It's going to border on roadblocks. That's completely okay. Often what I'll have happen is in the reality, I'll get I'll hear about the result, that they're not getting the results they want. Getting negative results. And in this piece over here, I'll get the why I'm not getting results. And both of those are really handy. So if you find there's an overlap, that's totally okay. Usually in the reality, I'm getting, this isn't working, that's not working, it's not working. Okay, cool. Then when we get into what's the cause of that, that's when we get into roadblocks piece. So quick question for you. When it comes to having people get really clear and open, vulnerable about the squiggly things in their world, what questions do you have for me about having them open up about that stuff? I'm going to give you 20 seconds right now to ask a question. Oh yeah, thanks Jonathan. Do I suggest going deep in reality or do I go there in roadblocks, Taki? Can. I'm not sure exactly what you mean. I go as deep as I need to kind of get clear about the numbers. Basically, I think about, just give me my finger on the pulse, what's actually going on here. I don't get deep in, like I'm not going to go all the way from reality to roadblocks in each item. I basically want to go from what's the current reality in this category, that category, this category, that category, this category, that category. Then I can summarize it. Okay, cool. Let's talk about what's really causing all that. So the short answer is I'm going to go deep, but I'm going to go deep when I get to roadblocks. I'm not going to do them both together. Often people know why, but they don't take action when they need to. What do you suggest? Well, what happens, Alfie, is that by the time we do this process, people get really clear about something needs to change. I'm not getting the results I'm after. I've got some big goals, but I'm not there, and these things are holding me back. And they come to you now. Like by the time we get to our bottom row, they come to you going, cool, tell me what to do about it. And then when we do that, then they'll take action. So when we get to the magic pills and the and the 3-question loop, then that's where that usually comes into play. Okay. So when it comes to the roadblocks, the things which are holding people back, the last piece of our stretch the gap diagnosis here, instead of comforting people and getting them out of their hurt, oh, by the way, oh, I'm sorry about the cough. Sharon, if you comfort people, if you rescue them out of the hurt, you might have temporarily made them ignore it, but the problem is still there. So you haven't actually healed anybody. I know that you're a healer by trade and by DNA. You haven't actually healed anybody unless you've got them actually better. So please, I want you to feel that you haven't healed them at all by comforting them. You've just had them not focus on the pain, which is still there. So if somebody's got cancer, you can either make them feel better about it, or you can have them, or you can help them to beat it. We're here to help them beat it. Is that cool? Okay, so in this piece, what do? Our job really is to have them feel, again, the gap. We want to have them feel the gap between where they are and where they want to be. The way I like to do that is with 2 little frameworks. The first one is by asking, let's just make a list of all the things which you feel like are slowing you down, getting in the way, or stopping you from getting you what you want. And so I say, slow you down, getting in the way, or stopping you from getting what you want. Now, they're going to give you some things, and then all you have to do is look at all of the conversion categories you listed before. So when it comes to your marketing, what do you think is slowing you down there, or getting in the way, stopping you there? And they're going to tell you, okay, talk to me about your time management. What's getting in the way there? And they're just going to get a really clear look at all of the things which are holding them back. So the first thing is this framework around slowing you down, getting in the way, applied to conversion categories, right? And the second thing is a mate of mine from San Diego called Christian Michelson, who's got this little framework that I found quite helpful sometimes. He talks about those kind of 5 key areas that, that coaching works on, 5 key things that people need. And so the first one is vision. And so you can just say, first thing you need to succeed is vision. How clear are you about what you want? Right? And how much better would things be if you were clearer? So vision's good. Cool. So some people have a really clear vision, but they don't have, they don't have a strategy or an action plan. So how clear are you about the strategy or the action plan to get those kind of results? And most people don't have any kind of strategy or action plan. Okay. Next thing people have to do is kind of upgrade their skills. What do you need to learn to get good at this and to be able to get these results? Skills is another place you can look. Okay. Next up, environment. How supportive is your environment? And by environment, I mean the people you're around, your physical space, and the technology tools that you use. Right? And then finally, your psychology. Everyone does something to sabotage their own success. What do you do? So I like those 2 frameworks a lot. To be honest, I tend to use the conversion categories and like what's slowing you down, getting in the way, or stopping you. And I just tend to run through each of those as much as I possibly can. Quincy just told me that the screen is frozen again, which is super annoying. I apologize. What I've got in the 3rd box to the right is feel the gap is the intention, and the language to use is slow, getting in way, and stopping. Slow, getting in way, and stopping. So feel the gap is our intention. We want them to feel the gap between where they are and what they want, and we want to know what's slowing them down, what's getting in the way, or what's stopping them from getting what they want. Cool? Any questions about having people feel the gap between where they are and where they want to be? Again, type them in. Quincy will load them up for me in Slack. Dude, I'm really glad I made you an organizer before we started this webinar, Quincy. Quincy, anything I need to see there? It's loading the messages for me now. All right, so let's have a look at our bottom left. What we want to do is we want to go from, having people say what they've liked about the process to opening up, and feeling like you've correctly diagnosed their issues, right? And so the way we do that, our intention here is that when we do the recap, like here's what I've heard you say so far, what we're really doing is we are bringing them to a decision time. So the intent, if you can't see the screen, and I apologize, the intent is bring to decision time. The way we bring people to decision time, our intent, bring people to decision time. The way we bring people to decision time is by going, when we recap their issues, we want to do it in a way that has them go, okay, cool, he or she gets me now, you get me now, what do I do next? Okay, so this is the transition, the segue from asking questions to being able to talk a little bit, from, ask to tell. There's diagnostic selling, which is what we've done so far, and we're about to switch into declarative selling, where we tell people what to do instead. So how do we bring them to the decision time? Well, you just recap what you've said. Okay, so let me just make sure I've heard properly. I want to make sure that I'm on the right track here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recap of the results, the reality of where they are, and what the roadblocks are that are holding them back. So what you really want is X, Y, Z, and you want this, and you want that, and you want this. You want this because of that, and you really want to grow your business because of that. All that, really? For you, it's about freedom and independence. Yeah. Okay, cool. In terms of where you are right now, you're not hitting your numbers here. That's missing. This is missing. So I'm just going to do a recap of the problems that they've got, and then what's really holding you back is, and I'm going to list out the things which are holding them back. When I do that, I've brought people to a decision, and the way I do it is just by doing a quick run through of their reality, their results, their reality, and their roadblocks. Cool. Okay, finally got some messages here from Quincy. Fiona says, that's brilliant, Taki. Using the conversion categories is what I've been missing. Love it. Sharon says, really helpful, and their good areas can help you understand where and how they put their energy. Makes working with them much more efficient and effective. End up being very clear on what they are likely to need. Do I give any solutions at this stage? Nope. I don't give any solutions until magic pills at the end. Framing the questions is correct. Great. Any questions you have about this piece, about bringing people to decision time? I'm going to give you a quick second right now to type in. So I've got intent, bring people to decision time, and then my language is a recap of their results thereafter, the reality of their current situation, and the roadblocks which are holding them back. And then I'll just wrap it up with, is there anything else you think I need to know about, about this stuff? No. Okay, cool. What's been most valuable so far? And they'll tell me, great. Where do you think we should go from here? So what's been most valuable so far is really more about, it's a segue into our 3 loop questions. All right. Cool. So let's do our 3-question loop. If we don't do the 3-question loop, what happens is we feel like we're pushing people, or more importantly, they feel like they're being pushed. Yeah, they feel like they're being pushed. And so what we want to do is we want to have them pull. So our intent for the 3-question loop is really simple. Our intent is slow down to go faster. Our intent is to slow down to go faster. Please write that down. Slow down to go faster. I used to work with a sales guy called Jason, and Jason had this quote. He used to say, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And so our job isn't to assume the sale, like so many, sales training teachers. Our job is to assume the not sale, is to assume that there's nothing available here, that there's no deal, and just go really slow and have them pull you towards the close. So I think this is a place where the language we really want to use is less important than the tone we use. And so I've written here that the intent is to slow down to go faster. The language is deflated balloon. I want you to be emotionally disengaged. Maybe that's not quite the right word. Just not in any kind of need around this thing. So literally, the way I would ask it is, okay, so I've just said, what's been most valuable so far, and they'll tell me, okay. Before we go any further, I just wanted to check. Is this making sense so far? People will be like, yeah. Okay. Are you comfortable with everything so far? Yeah. See how I'm putting the brakes on here? Yeah. So where do you think we should go from here? And then they're going to take you to the place where it's time now for they feel like you've diagnosed, and now they're going to want to know what to do about it. So the intention is slow down to go faster, and the languaging is more about deflated balloon. Now, here's what I guarantee you. If you're kind of new to this process, you're going to feel like asking them the same three questions. Is this making sense so far? Are you comfortable with everything so far? And where do you think we should go from here? You're going to feel like those questions are redundant, and asking them multiple times is annoying, but it's actually not, right? What it does is it respects people. It says, I'm not going to talk about stuff unless you want to talk about it with me. Just like at the $1 Million Coach, when I say, hey, really happy to talk about how the program works, but only with people who want to have that conversation with me. So we're about to go for a lunch break. If you don't want to hear it, then enjoy the lunch break. Come back at 2 o'clock. Yeah, that whole conversation. That's exactly what we're doing here. So any questions about slowing down to go faster and the 3-question loop? Going to give you a second right now to type it in. Cameron says, do you still do a summary at each stage, results, reality, and roadblocks, or only at the end of the 3? No, I do one at the end of each one, and then a full summary at the end. Any questions you've got so far, please let me know. Give you 30 seconds. All right. Cool. I'm just going to give these a couple of seconds to pop through at my end. Let's jump into the last box. We're into the magic pills right now. The magic pills is where we can either fire hose people with all of our stuff, or we can deliver the magic pills one by one in a way that creates some desire. So our intent is to build and relieve tension. Please write that down in that box. Our intent is to build and relieve tension. In other words, our intent is to keep the striptease going, right? Is to kind of keep people entertained instead of, showing them everything all at once. Sharon and Paula are saying, can you please repeat the 3 questions? The 3 questions are, is this making sense so far? Question number 2 is, are you comfortable with everything so far? And question number 3 is, where do you think we should go from here? Cool. So we want to build and relieve tension. And the way we do that is, the way we language it is, we give 1 magic pill and then come back to our 3 loops. 1 magic pill and come back to our 3 loops. So under languaging, I just want you to write down 1 pill and 3 loop questions. And so we're going to talk about their biggest problem. From early on, it sounded like this was the trickiest part for many of you. So do me a favor and just type in your specific question about how to do the magic pills well. I want to make sure we answer these really tightly. So if you have a specific question about the magic pills or how the magic pills and the 3-question loop interplay, then just type that in, please. Quincy's going to queue it up for me. I'll have a look and I'll answer them for you now. I believe that often the problem is created further upstream, like we talked about earlier, but there's a chance that your magic pills need work. In fact, there's a good chance that your magic pills need work. So what's your specific magic pills question? Please type it in, and we'll wrap this webinar up in about 4 minutes' time. Chris says, designing my pills relative to my offer. So, Chris, there are 6 magic pills, right? The first two pills are about why it matters. The second two pills are about what your program's about. And the third two pills are about how it works. And so the why ones are what are their problems and what are your prescriptions. The what ones are your outcome and your model. And your how ones are logistics and price. So the first two, problems and prescriptions, are just, those two get made up fresh every time, depending on the person you're talking to, because you're just going to give them the 3 biggest problems that are holding them back right now and what they need to do about them. So those two are kind of, you make them up for each person new from scratch. But the others are going to be standard for every program that you offer, right? So your outcome is magic pill number 3, and so you need an outcome for your program. So supposing we did this, what's the end result of working with you? That's the question we really want to ask, right? What's the end result? And so it's about sell your practice for top dollar fast, Chris, or something like that. That's the outcome. The model is what are the 3 or 4 core parts of 3 or 4 core things that you'll work on together. And so I don't know what they are for you, but it's like for me, it's marketing and sales and delivery. Attract, convert, deliver is the kind of core parts of the model, and I put that into a shape. So the question is, what are the 3 or 4, maybe 5 core parts of your work, or what are the kind of key themes that you work on? The logistics are here's how we work together, and so this is the webinars that you do, or the Q&A calls, like the webinars like we're on right now, or the live intensives, or the one-on-one calls, or whatever you do. The easiest way I found, Chris, to explain the logistics is to break things down into 3 parts. The plan, because every new client needs a plan. The tools, like how do you teach your stuff? And then the help, how do people get help through the process along the way? And then price is just the price. So here's how much it is upfront, here's how much it is in installments, and maybe there's a deal on the day. Make sense? So let's just pause right now. Again, if you have a question, I'm going to give you 10 seconds to type it in. So I said right at the start today that our job is to diagnose your sales problem, to kind of audit your performance and do like a post, like an instant replay, and to go as far upstream as we can, and then look at our language and our intent, and then just apply the simplest fix that there is. So the question I've got for you is, if you have a look at these 9 boxes that you've drawn out, the problems, and what's at stake if you get it right, what's the benefit if you get it right, and then for each one I've talked about what the intent is and what your language should be. So I want to know is kind of which is the one that you most need to work on. Which is the one piece of these which is most your issue? So I want you to kind of just type in right now, which one of these 9 boxes do you need to do the most work on right now? Which one of these is the fix for you? We're not going to try to fix everything. Which one of fix the one that's going to make the biggest impact for you? So 10 seconds, please. Type into the question box, which one of these is the one that you need to work on? Is it rapport, where you're becoming friends instead of just making people feel comfortable and then just getting down to business quickly? Going deep fast. Let's get started. Is it the agenda, where you feel like the conversation sort of goes on off track because you didn't give them a track in the first place and have them be okay with it? Is it the decision question, where they were there to get free information from you instead of solve it because right up front we didn't have them admit that there was a real issue? Deb says, what did the first two why questions cover? Problems and prescriptions. Problems and prescriptions. If we go ahead and kind of identify your challenges, what, which one of these do you most need? Is it about getting people to feel what's possible in their results piece, or having them kind of look at what's really going on in the reality piece, or feel the gap based on the conversion categories in the conflict roadblocks piece? Yeah, Fiona says reality, results, and roadblocks is kind of where I need to focus in. Great. Paula and Sharon both say magic pills. Yes. It's about summarising their issues in the V for value part so that we can bring them to a decision. What's the piece that you need to most work on? Brilliant. The close, says AJ. Perfect. So let me point you at a couple of other pieces of training that will help you go deep with this, depending on what you need. There is a training called the Conversion Intensive, which was a 2-day workshop on how to sell your stuff, where we spent a bunch of time on each of these. So if you've got heaps of time and you want to kind of nail it, master it, that's where to go. If you want to do the quick version, there's a training called How to Sell High-Priced Coaching, which talks about the magic pills in more detail and the strategy session formula. Okay, it'll give you specific questions. Alfie's either telling me or him to slow down. Alfie, here's my hunch. Right, slow down and go faster. Yes, you totally need to slow down. One of the challenges with thinking as quickly as you do, Alfie, is that unless you're careful, you'll be going way too fast for them and you end up fire hosing people. So we want to stop that. Roadblocks and pills, says Chris. Cool. Guys, listen, this has been really fun today, hanging out with you and walking through the stuff. I'm really apologetic about the tech issues that we had. Apologies for that. Andrew says, working on reality and then having my conversion categories planned. Yeah. So all I want to know right now is, what's the one next action that you can take that will increase your conversion? We talked before about applying the simplest fix. What's the simplest fix for you? So I'm going to give you 10 seconds as we wrap up. 10 seconds. What's the one thing for you to do to fix that pill or that box? My loop. Gabby says, my conversion rate's at 90%. I haven't done the 3-question loops. I'll add this and my conversion rate go up to 99%. That's exactly right, too. Make a note of my conversion categories. Yes, Fiona, love that. What else? Perfect, 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 perfect. So anytime you lose focus, anytime you're kind of worried, it's not your mojo that's missing. It's usually just some simple mechanics in your sales process. So use the conversion audit, this little worksheet to diagnose where it's going off track and going from there. Summarizing and getting agreement. Perfect, Grant. Love that. Guys, well done. This has been fun today. Thanks so much for sharing. I will see you in about 20 minutes or 25 minutes with Adam as we go into what he's learned about taking over the black belt sales process lately. Just want to say thanks. It's been fun, and I will talk to you soon.